MCU is always leaving Easter eggs to find, but here are some that not even super fans noticed. 10. The Thanos Copter. Thanos has a helicopter, it is called the Thanos Copter, and yes, everyone is upset that it didn't make Infinity War or Endgame. Or did it? I mean, the copter was seen in The Void and Loki, but it was also the base for Thanos' weapon in Avengers 3 and 4. Looking at the sword with a helicopter in mind, I do see it. 9. The book in Fantastic Four First Steps. Spoiler warning for the new movie, but in the Fantastic Four First Steps post-credit scene, Sue Storm and Franklin are spending time together reading a book. That book is called The Very Hungry Caterpillar. It's giving Galactus a little bit with that plot. The book came out in 1969, so this was actually probably a first edition. 8. Howard the Duck fought Thanos. Now, many fans probably didn't notice Howard the Duck was at the Endgame final battle because there was a lot going on, and he was only on screen for literally half a second. We were all too focused on seeing all of our favorite heroes on screen for the first time together and hearing Steve say Avengers Assemble to pay much attention to the 2-foot-tall duck. 7. The Iron Theme. The theme song for the 1966 Iron Man cartoon was in 2008's Iron Man, but you might not have noticed because it was a slightly jazzier version. When we see Tony for the first time in the casino, the song choice isn't random, it is the reimagined version of the 66 theme, which is perfect background music. 6. Age of Big Hero 6. In Age of Ultron, when Tony is going through cartridges with his AIs on them, there's a few interesting names. In the end, he picks Friday, but you can see one named Tadashi, well actually it's Tadashi 4I, something like that. I would love to hear the breakdown of that acronym. Not only is the name the same as the Big Hero 6 character, but the cartridge things also appeared in that movie too. There was another one with Jocasta on it, and rumor has it that she will make her MCU debut in the Vision Quest series. 5. The Ant-Man cameo. Paul Rudd was not the first live-action Ant-Man, it was actually Garrett Morris, but you would only know that if you watched videos like this one or SNL in the 70s. He played the hero in a sketch, making him the first live-action Ant-Man, and also the first to pull off that helmet. Morris had a cameo in the MCU movie as a nod to this. 4. The Stark Expo. The Human Torch, not Johnny Storm, but the first ever Marvel superhero, the android Human Torch, was featured in Captain America 1 during the scene where Bucky and Steve attend Stark Expo. He was called the Synthetic Man in the movie, but eagle-eyed fans put together his comic inspiration based on how similar he was with Marvel's debut hero. 3. The Future Foundation. The Future Foundation was name-dropped in Fantastic Four First Steps, and it had people stressing. In the comics, Johnny Storm perished next to the Future Foundation super team after throwing himself through a portal to hold off an army, and that is eerily close to what almost happened in the movie too, only in the end Shalla made the sacrifice, and instead of a whole army, it was just Galactus. The inspiration was clear though. 2. The robbery in Spider-Man Homecoming. Ultimate Spider-Man issue 42 came to life in the form of a bank robbery scene in Tom Holland's first Spider-Man. Of course, unless you've read every single issue, you probably didn't catch this, but it's almost shot for panel. The robbers wearing the Avengers masks, an explosion ending the fight, but there is one key difference. In the comics, one robber is wearing a Batman mask, and you can't really do that in the movies. 1. Guardians of the Galaxy. James Gunn says there is an Easter egg in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy that still hasn't been found. Leading theories are that when Baby Groot wakes up in Volume 1, it matches the trees in Walt Disney's groundbreaking Flowers and Trees Silly Symphony, or the coordinates and codes that appear throughout the film are actually messages to decode. Some of them have been solved, but many are still question marks. While James Gunn has no plans to share that mystery with the public, he has told some people the answer, so if you know, please let us know in the comments section. Marvel's first family has taken over theaters worldwide, and there's probably a lot that you missed, but that's where we come in to help. This is not a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie, save and come back, but otherwise, let's jump right in. What a perfectly done movie for Marvel's first family. That's the thing with the Fantastic Four, and you can tell that the director, Matt Shakman, really understood how important that is to the characters. Shakman also did WandaVision, which makes a lot of sense. Family is kind of his thing. In Matt, we trust. But speaking of WandaVision, there was a sign in Times Square for Westview Appliances television, but that was also in the trailer, so you probably know about that one already. But I think the sweetest Easter egg has to be the Earth designation 828. This was told to audiences at the end of the film what it was, but it is a reference to Fantastic Four creator Jack Kirby's birthday. Stan Lee was also referenced in his catchphrase being the team's spaceship ship name, Excelsior. IGN.com says that there is a moment right before the Silver Surfer hits Times Square in which two men are seen in a window making comic books, and they're thought to be Stan and Jack. But I'd have to see it again to confirm that one, which is the opposite of a problem, I do have to say. There were also a couple shots in which a Stanley's store was seen in the back. We had that epic opening sequence of the team fighting a bunch of their classic villains, Mole Man, who was not so much an Easter egg as he was an actual character in the film, the Red Ghost and his super apes, and the Mad Thinker, Puppet Master, the Wizard, and Diablo are also mentioned when the family talks about Reed baby-proofing the city. We saw a couple times during the F4 worldwide addresses that Doctor Doom's home country, Latveria, noticeably did not have a representative present until the post-credit scene, but we will get to that. Still, it was something that fans quickly caught on to and hinted that even though we haven't met Doom yet, it's clear that he doesn't agree with the team. One thing I did really love about the movie is that it felt like a 1960s comic book, and I don't just mean that aesthetically. It was visually stunning, I'm completely obsessed, but what I mean is that the team tried to beat an all-powerful, planet-consuming, cosmic space god by simply swapping carriers. Now that is some 1960s comic book logic if I've ever seen it. The team in this world likely debuted in the same year they did in the comics. Comicbook.com did the math and came to the conclusion, and it is fitting, so I accept it. The original 1994 Fantastic Four cast cameoed in the film, 94 Reed and Sood were newscasters, and 94 Johnny and Ben were power plant workers. But getting into the post-credit scenes, Sue and Franklin, now clearly heading into the 1970s, are reading together. Before leaving to find another book, Sue finishes The Very Hungry Caterpillar, which is quite fitting Galactus core, I must say. The second post-credit scene was a cartoon theme song, but don't let the bright colors distract you. They included some interesting characters. Fans spotted the team fighting villains like potential Doom bots, maybe an X-Men Sentinel, Gargoyles, Draconis, and more. And finally, the elephant in the room, Doctor Doom has officially entered the MCU. Doom debuted in the Fantastic Four comics, so it is fitting that he made his MCU debut in the Fantastic Four film, even if it was like right at the end. It appears Doctor Doom is after the same thing Galactus was, Franklin Richards and the limitless power inside of him. Doom is more likely to use that power to cause multiversal chaos and potentially start the events leading to Avengers Secret Wars, instead of simply stopping a never-ending cosmic hunger. There is also a theory though that the rocket that we saw in the post-credit scene for Thunderbolts isn't actually the Fantastic Four in it, but Doom and Franklin headed to the Earth without a Fantastic Four team because Doom knows that he has a better chance of winning there. Or maybe the team has followed Doctor Doom to that Earth after he took Franklin, but who knows, and what do you think?
Whether you loved it or hated it, Brave New World is packed with details for eagle-eyed Marvel fans. From the leader's prison at comic book-inspired Camp Echo 1 to Sam Wilson's Eagle 1 call sign, the movie is filled with deep-cut nods to reward longtime viewers. Starting off our list is a location that might seem familiar to eagle-eyed comic book fans, Camp Echo 1. This is where the leader, a classic Hulk villain, is being held prisoner in Brave New World. For those familiar with the source material, Camp Echo 1 is more than just a generic military base. In the comics, it was specifically designed as a high-tech facility intended to peacefully contain Bruce Banner and manage his transformations into the Hulk. The inclusion of Camp Echo 1 in the MCU is a neat layered nod to Hulk's extensive history in Marvel Comics. It's a prime example of how the MCU often cleverly adapts and reimagines established elements from the comics, rewarding longtime readers with these deep-cut references while enriching the cinematic universe's own narrative. Sam Wilson officially gets a new call sign in Brave New World. He's now known as Eagle 1. This might sound like a simple designation, but it's actually a very cool and meaningful callback to his original superhero persona, Falcon. For years, Sam soared through the skies as the Falcon, a winged hero and steadfast partner to Captain America. Eagle 1 isn't just a random bird-related name. It directly evokes the imagery and spirit of his Falcon identity. This subtle yet impactful detail beautifully symbolizes Sam's complete evolution. He's not just becoming Captain America, he's bringing his entire history and experience as Falcon into this new role. It underscores that he's not trying to erase his past or simply mimic Steve Rogers. Instead, he's forging his own path as Captain America, informed by everything he's learned and accomplished as Falcon. The Eagle 1 call sign subtly but powerfully emphasizes his growth from a trusted sidekick into a full-fledged Captain America, ready to lead in his own right and carry on the legacy while making it distinctly his own. Did you catch that incredibly smooth, classic Captain America move during Sam's opening battle? In a split second of action, Sam expertly stomps on the side of his shield, using his foot to precisely control the leverage and cause the vibranium disc to flip directly up into the air, perfectly positioned for him to catch. This isn't just a cool action flourish, it's a signature move that we've seen Steve Rogers, the original Captain America, perform countless times throughout his MCU tenure. For fans, it's an instantly recognizable piece of Captain America's fighting style. By incorporating this specific shield maneuver into his own combat repertoire, Sam is doing more than just wielding the shield. He's actively embracing the full Captain America legacy. It's a powerful visual cue that signals his respect for what came before and his commitment to honoring Steve's example. However, crucially, Sam executing this move doesn't feel like mimicry. He performs it with his own style and physicality, demonstrating that while he's carrying on the mantle, he's also making the role his own. It's a subtle but effective way of showing Sam's journey. He's not trying to be Steve Rogers, but rather he's becoming his own Captain America, while still respecting and incorporating the iconic elements of the hero's established fighting techniques. President Ross seems to have a sweet tooth. Throughout the movie, he's seen enjoying suckers instead of his usual cigars. This might seem like a random detail, but it's likely a nod to former US President Ronald Reagan and his famous love for jelly beans. It's a fun little connection between the fictional and real world of politics. Even years later, the effects of the blip are still being felt. During President Ross's speech, he mentions half the world disappearing, a clear reference to Thanos' snap in Infinity War. It's a quick reminder of the lasting impact the blip had on the MCU and how it continues to shape the world of Brave New World. So that wraps up the first 5 Easter eggs, showcasing how Brave New World blends comic inspiration with MCU callbacks in its initial half. But believe it or not, there's still more to uncover. Stay tuned for part 2, where we dive into even deeper cuts and hidden details. Did you think the Easter egg hunt was over? We're halfway through. Remember the truly awe-inspiring sight of that colossal celestial emerging from the ocean in Eternals? Well, get ready, because it's back and playing a significant role in Brave New World. Celestial Island, now a permanent fixture in the MCU's geography, becomes a key location in this film. Intriguingly, various countries are shown fiercely vying for control of this unusual landmass, and the reason is its incredibly valuable deposits of adamantium. For those in the know, adamantium is no ordinary metal. It's a powerhouse, often cited as one of the strongest substances in the entire Marvel universe, making it a highly sought-after resource. Speaking of powerful materials in Wakanda, keep a close watch for Joaquin Torres, who is sporting a brand new Falcon suit in this movie. This isn't just any suit, it boasts a striking green and orange color scheme, directly mirroring the visual style of the current Falcon in Marvel Comics, a clear nod to the comic source material. Furthermore, and perhaps unsurprisingly, given Wakanda's involvement, the suit is packed to the brim with advanced Wakandan technology, echoing the tech integrated into Sam Wilson's Captain America wings. This detail not only firmly grounds Brave New World within the established interconnected MCU, but also cleverly sets the stage for future possibilities. Many fans are already speculating that the focus on adamantium and its presence on Celestial Island could be a subtle hint towards the potential introduction of Wolverine into the MCU, given that his iconic claws are famously made of this virtually indestructible metal. When General Thaddeus Ross undergoes his shocking transformation into the Red Hulk in Brave New World, his rage doesn't just manifest as brute strength. It's visually spectacular and incredibly dangerous. As he hulks out, his anger intensifies, and this is directly translated into intense heat radiating from his body. We see this in a striking visual detail. Everything he touches begins to scorch and burn. This isn't just a random power-up for the MCU's Red Hulk, it's a direct and faithful nod to the character's comic book origins. In the comics, the Red Hulk's unique physiology means his anger directly escalates his body temperature, making him a literal walking furnace when enraged. This Easter egg is not only visually impressive, adding a unique and fiery element to the Red Hulk's powers on screen, but it also demonstrates a commitment to staying true to the source material, rewarding comic readers with a deep appreciation for this specific detail. It also raises the stakes in any fight involving Red Hulk, as his opponents now have to contend not only with his immense strength, but also with the threat of being burned alive. We first met Isaiah Bradley in The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and he plays a significant role in Brave New World. Referred to as the Forgotten Captain America, Bradley's tragic past as a super soldier experimented on by the government adds emotional weight to the story. His presence serves as a reminder of the ethical complexities surrounding super soldiers and the government's questionable actions. Unlike Steve Rogers, Sam Wilson doesn't have super soldier serum, making him a more relatable and human Captain America. At the end of the film, Sam visits the Raft, the supermax prison for superpowered individuals. We see that the current inmates include Thunderbolt Ross, the leader, Zemo, Willis Stryker, and Trish Walker. This Easter egg connects Brave New World to various corners of the MCU and hints at potential future storylines involving these imprisoned characters. This one is hilarious. In a scene where President Ross is pondering a difficult situation, he wonders what President Ford would have done while looking at a portrait of Harrison Ford. This is an unintentional yet hilarious nod to Scary Movie 3, where Leslie Nielsen's president makes the same mistake. It's a blink and you'll miss it moment that adds a touch of unexpected humor to the movie. So next time you dive into Brave New World, keep your eyes peeled for these awesome Easter eggs and hidden details. And if you're hungry for even more Marvel deep dives, be sure to click the end screen link to check out our video breaking down all the Easter eggs you might have missed in the recent Thunderbolts trailer. There's always more to uncover in the MCU. The final episode of Daredevil, Born Again, Straight to Hell, delivers a tense, character-driven climax that not only redefines Matt Murdock's journey, but also dramatically reshapes the MCU's street-level landscape. Today's video is going to explore the narrative, character arcs, and the overwhelming amount of MCU Easter eggs and callbacks to the original Netflix series, while pondering the finale's significance for the future of New York in the MCU. This breakdown is not going to be spoiler-free, so watch at your own nerd risk. Kicking off with the man of the hour, Matt Murdock. He was put through the ringer in this one. His journey in the finale is one of acceptance and rebirth. Throughout the season, he wrestles with the duality of his existence, lawyer versus vigilante. The events of the finale force him to accept that the system is broken and that Daredevil is needed more than ever. His decision to don the costume again and lead the fight against Fisk is a moment of catharsis and commitment, signaling that he can no longer separate his two identities. Whereas the villain of the show, Wilson Fisk, also known as Kingpin, his arc is one of regression. Despite earlier attempts to legitimize his rule, the finale sees him revert fully to his Kingpin persona, ruling with fear and violence. His partnership with Vanessa is now one of mutual ruthlessness, and his declaration of martial law marks the darkest chapter for New York's governance. Karen Page returns as Matt's confidant and moral anchor, helping him rally support and reminding him of Foggy's faith in him. Frank Castle is both ally and wildcard, which is pretty standard for the character no matter who he is fighting alongside, but his brutal methods only stand out more in this show when they clash with Daredevil's moral code. He is ultimately captured, but a post-credits scene hints at his continued resistance. Because one thing about the Punisher, he is hard to knock down. Heather Glenn and Kirsten McDuffie represent Matt's lost connections to a normal life, both distancing themselves as he embraces his vigilante role. Angela Del Toro is teased as a potential new White Tiger, keeping the door open for further street-level heroes. Imagine her on the Young Avengers in the MCU, she would fit right in. But let's get to the good stuff, all the callbacks and little references that tie this show to a grander universe. To put it short, let's get into the Easter eggs. The finale is packed with nods to the MCU and the Netflix Daredevil series, rewarding attentive fans and those that have been there since the beginning. One of the most significant callbacks involves Agent Ray Nadeem. He was a character from the Netflix show, a special agent for the FBI that was unfortunately taken out by Bullseye in Season 3. Sadly, that meant viewers would not be seeing him again, but that doesn't mean they can't hear about him. Vanessa Fisk clearly explains that FBI corruption led to Bullseye getting released from prison early, despite the fact that that is a horrible idea. I mean, look at Bullseye and that resume of his. He should never have even been close to getting out. Agent Nadeem and Wilson Fisk are included in this conversation with Vanessa, not just tying it back to the first show, but also helping continue the story in a way that slots everything together organically. This nod also ties the current narrative of Born Again to past events, emphasizing the ongoing corruption within law enforcement that has historically protected Fisk and, let's honest, destroys the city but makes for an entertaining viewing experience. Another key reference is the stuff about Red Hook Port or Red Hook Pier, which Vanessa and Fisk use as a criminal hub. The port is designated as a free port by a historic legal document from 1855, allowing them to launder money under the guise of urban revitalization. Fisk wants to make their operation go from big to massive though. The port was also featured in other Marvel series like Iron Fist and The Punisher, which further proves that those shows and all that took place in them are part of the MCU now. I mean, The Punisher literally appearing in multiple episodes and working with Matt was also a pretty big tip-off. But this is still a fun fact. Overall, this detail not only grounds the criminal enterprise in real-world legal loopholes, but also echoes comic book storylines involving smuggling and illicit trade zones. Moving on to the clothes. Fisk's attire also pays homage to his comic book roots. In the finale, he wears a stained white suit, a classic look for the Kingpin character. This visual choice symbolizes his full embrace of his villainous persona and mirrors his appearances in both the Marvel comics and the Netflix series. The red splatter on his suit, particularly during his confrontation with Matt, echoes the recurring motif of the rabbit in a snowstorm painting, which has been associated with Fisk's character since the series' beginning. The painting, often blood-splattered, symbolizes the inevitable violence that defines Fisk's life and criminal empire. And while we are the topic, the painting is featured many times throughout the show, but heavily featured in a scene where Vanessa and Wilson share a victory dinner. As they clink glasses, behind them is the painting. With Wilson decked out in his white suit and Vanessa in her dress, they mirror the painting in the visual cue of their violent compatibility. Like the splatter and the painting is not lost on the audience. The visual motif of Fisk's red splattered suit and the rabbit in a snowstorm painting symbolize the inescapable violence and chaos surrounding him. But back to the original point, the Red Hook port. The scene where Bullseye crashes the port's inaugural black and white ball echoes the Netflix series' iconic wedding crash, foreshadowing the cyclical nature of Fisk's criminal dominance and Daredevil's ongoing struggle. The episode also seems to reference the Secret Empire storyline from the comics, the story where an evil Captain America used Dark Force energy to terrify the residents of New York by plunging the city that never sleeps into complete darkness. Born Again does something similar, creating chaos and worry, but this time it's all orchestrated by Fisk, yet still reminiscent of Hydra's Dark Force-powered attack in Secret Empire Zero. This moment underscores Fisk's desire for control and chaos, aligning with the comic's themes of authoritarianism and manipulation. The return of White Tiger via Angela Del Toro is another pretty big moment for the show and the MCU, of course. Her presence hints at her future role as a hero. Do I hear Young Avengers, anyone? Her character's inclusion is a nod to the legacy of Marvel's street-level heroes, because goodness knows Marvel has dozens if not hundreds of them. The episode also confirms Officer Cole North as the man who ended Hector Ayala, the original White Tiger, with Frank Castle recognizing a Punisher bullet casing at the scene, a direct callback to the comics' depiction of the anti-vigilante task force's brutal methods. Woven into the episode are a couple funny callbacks to the original Netflix series, a favorite being the avocados at law sign. What might seem like a silly or even confusing phrase actually holds a lot of emotional weight, as it references Foggy Nelson and Matt Murdock's early days as lawyers. Foggy was trying to say lawyers in Spanish. The word can sound a bit like avocados, and you can probably guess whatever happened. Rest in peace, Foggy Nelson, the best avocado at law there ever was. The soundtrack shouldn't go unnoticed either. The strategic choices also contain symbolic significance, with songs like Stormcloud Rising, Killing Me Softly, and Radiohead's Everything in Its Right Place, which reflect the episode's dark tone and the chaos engulfing New York. They are also pretty literal. Stormcloud plays as TH episode kicks off, and there certainly is a storm cloud of unrest in NYC. Softly plays during an attempt on Matt's life, and Right Place plays right at the end. The soundtrack designer nailed this season. Finally, the episode's references extend to the MCU. We mentioned the nods to the Secret Empire storyline, but there was also a fun nod to the Pim Van Dyne Foundation in the form of an electronic billboard seen just before the lights went down. The Pims come from the Ant-Man section of Marvel. These Easter eggs serve to deepen the narrative, connect the series to the wider MCU, and set the stage for future developments. The finale's careful weaving of comic book lore, Netflix callbacks, and MCU references creates a layered storytelling experience that rewards attentive fans and enriches the ongoing saga of Daredevil and New York's vigilantes. The finale's narrative structure is deliberately somber and unresolved. Rather than a triumphant victory, Matt and his allies are forced into retreat, regrouping for a larger war to come. He does say we're gonna need an army. Hopefully that means we'll be seeing some epic team-ups soon. They subtly mentioned Spider-Man a few times in the show, plus Miss Marvel was directly mentioned too, but this choice grounds the series in the harsh realities of street-level heroism. Victories are temporary, and the fight is unfortunately never truly over. By outlawing vigilantes and instituting martial law, the show raises the stakes for all costume heroes in the MCU's New York. The Red Hook free port, the caging of heroes, and the rise of new threats all set the stage for a broader, more interconnected street-level narrative in future seasons. Daredevil, Born Again's finale is a pivotal chapter for the MCU, signaling a renewed focus on grounded, morally complex storytelling. The episode's Easter eggs and references not only reward longtime fans, but also lay the groundwork for crossovers and new heroes. The integration of characters like the Punisher, Bullseye, and White Tiger, along with references to organizations like the Pim Van Dyne Foundation, hint at a future where the street-level and cosmic sides of the MCU may intersect more than ever. The final episode of Daredevil, Born Again, is a masterclass in character-driven storytelling, balancing action, emotion, and a wealth of Marvel lore. By embracing the darkness and uncertainty of Matt Murdock's world, the show delivers a finale that is both a conclusion and a bold promise for the future. With its rich tapestry of MCU Easter eggs and its commitment to exploring the cost of heroism, Born Again ensures that Daredevil's fight and the fight for New York has only just begun.
It's a Superman summer and I couldn't be happier. James Gunn's DCU has officially taken off and I have to say it's absolutely incredible so far. Let's get into all the Easter eggs and references and maybe even a theory or two if we have the time. This video is clearly not spoiler free, so watch at your own risk. Christopher Reeve's son made a cameo in Superman. Reeve is widely regarded as the best live-action Superman, his most famous scene being the one where he effortlessly switches between mild-mannered reporter Clark Kent and of course Superman. His son is carrying the super legacy today. Not only is he a reporter in real life, but also in the movie. Another nod to Christopher Reeve was found in the logo for the film. It was very similar to the way it was done in his movies. Gotham City mention in Superman 2025. During the evacuation scene, there's a brief shot of like a highway, and for literally half a second, you can see a route sign for Gotham City. I literally shot up out of my seat in the theater and pointed at it because I'm physically incapable of being chill when it comes to Batman, so I'm really sorry to the people that were around me for that. One thing about James Gunn though, he is going to make sure his friends stay employed. It helps when his friends are also pretty talented. So Bradley Cooper played Kal-El's father. He is of course the voice of Rocket Raccoon in the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, also done by Gunn. Sean Gunn's Maxwell Lord made a brief cameo. John Cena's Peacemaker was featured in a news segment giving his opinion on Superman. Frank Grillo's Creature Commandos General Rick Flag Sr. was that intimidating guy that arrested Superman, and the Superman robots were voiced by other actors that Gunn is buddies with, like Guardians alums Palm Clementif or Michael Rooker. If you listened closely and you're super locked into every actor that has played Lex Luthor, then you might have noticed that one of the Luthor Corps soldiers, also referred to as the Raptors, is voiced by the actor that played Lex Luthor in Smallville, Michael Rosenbaum. Nicholas Hoult did chat with Rosenbaum about being the iconic villain, and might I say that Hoult absolutely smashed this part, the ultimate hater. And sidebar, hearing Lex call for the Raptors in the movie, specifically because I live in Toronto, was really weird. My immediate association with that word is our basketball team. Hate to say they wouldn't stand a chance against Superman, they can barely handle another team. Sorry boys. In the scene where Guy Gardner is all but giving up Superman's secret identity to Lois Lane, thank God, she already knew it, he mentioned Clark wears hypno glasses. James Gunn confirmed this weeks before the movie came out, and I made a video about it, and everyone said I was lying, but it is in the comics, and now it's movies canon as well. In the comics, Clark has very low levels of hypno vision. The glasses, made from the Kryptonian glass from his crashed ship, make it stronger and make people see him as scrawnier and generally un-Superman-like, or just whatever Clark wants them to see him as. And now, it's canon in the movies too. Ultraman was highlighted in Superman, but not the version that comic readers are familiar with. Ultraman is originally an evil alternate version of Superman, but in this case, he was simply an evil clone created by a man that did create a pocket universe, so all the pieces are there just a little bit out of order. I couldn't help but notice that Ultraman has left the door wide open for Connor Kent to make an appearance. Lex made a point to say that he made a clone with just Superman's DNA, but he came out a little less intelligent. My theory is that in the next installment, Lex is going to try again, but to fix that intelligence issue, that's why he adds his own DNA into the mix, and then boom, we have Connor. In James Gunn's DCU, superpowered metahumans have existed for about, I think it said 300 years, so they have been busy. A huge mural featuring a bunch of Golden Age superheroes was spotted in the scene where Lois Lane tries to talk the Justice Gang into helping her find Superman. Of course, Guy's bowl cut was very captivating, so if you missed the mural, here is kind of who is on it. Jay Garrick's Flash, Wildcat, Atomic Knight, Freedom Beast, and a whole lot more. Some people say they spotted Princess Amethyst, My Queen, or Dr. Fate, but the shots were really quick, so it's currently up for debate. But the biggest reveal of all was our first look at Millie Alcock's Supergirl. Literally, my theater erupted when she appeared on screen. Supergirl is a hot mess, but she still serves. She crashed into the fortress to get back her dog, Crypto, and it explained why Crypto was like that the whole time. This diva has already, I think, finished filming her solo feature film, and I really can't wait to see more of her and her journey to becoming the hero she was born to be. It's very clear how much James Gunn loves the DC universe. I am probably gonna go see this again tomorrow, and I'm probably going to spot more Easter eggs, but let me know in the comments section all your theories for future films, or if I missed anything.